Robert Plank Show, episode 395. Attorney Leads and Marketing. Specialize, build landing pages, and send traffic to enjoy consistent business leads with Brian Saemann. Hey everyone, and thanks for listening. We're talking right now with Brian Saemann, and Brian is a certified inbound marketing nerd and overall marketing junkie, and he's the founder of Digital Agency School, and he's the CEO of the high six-figure marketing agency called Go Beyond SEO. And Brian started his agency with no experience, no marketing education, and no connections in the industry. And now he wants to help other marketers launch their own agencies so they can build their ideal career and lifestyle. So, Mr. Brian, what's on your mind these days?
Oh, what's on my mind these days? I guess I got lots of things on my mind. Right now, actually, it looks like Hurricane Irma might head my way. So that's kind of preoccupying my mind a little bit. But try not to let it get in the way of getting some good work done. So I guess what's on my mind these days is, how I can help my clients the most and how I can help other people find some clients.
All right, great. So as far as these clients, what kind of clients do you have and what do you do for them?
Sure. I have a pretty diverse set of clients. Most of them, though, do reside in the professional services area, and we do digital marketing, typically lead generation for these clients. So we will set up campaigns, whether they be on AdWords or on Facebook, with some funnels, and get out there and generate some new leads and clients for my clients.
Perfect. And so to kind of get an idea of, so you set up these AdWords campaigns, you get this lead generation coming in. Can you give us an example of what sort of businesses these are, what kind of leads you're bringing in?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Right now, we're doing quite a few campaigns actually for some law firms, solo attorneys, and small law firms, and we really help them when we start to work with these guys. One of the biggest issues that we have when we come in is that they want to market to everyone, and they want to market all of their services at once. So, as you can see, a small law firm, a lot of the times they practice what attorneys will call door law, meaning whoever knocks on your door, you'll take them. But that makes it really hard to market yourself effectively. If you're trying to be everything to everyone, you end up being no one to anyone. So I really have to get these lawyers and their firms to really just concentrate on promoting one service area at a time, and then getting and developing a message that's going to resonate with the people who need that particular service. And then we can move on from there. Once we get one campaign set up and working well and making them money, then we move on to more service areas, where instead of trying to eat the apple whole, so to speak.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense because what you just described there, sort of waiting for the knock on the door or waiting for the phone to ring or being at the mercy of whatever sort of clients find you just by accident sounds sort of scary because, you can have those highs and lows and not really have any control over it. Or, if the business is struggling or you don't like the kind of clients you're getting, it's like there's no way to really control that unless you go out and run your own ads and kind of put yourself in the driver's seat there. And so you market for these law firms, and I imagine that these law firms all specialize in certain things. And so do you work with any kind of law firm, like a divorce attorney and a criminal attorney and any kind of lawyer, or do you have a specific type of law firm you like to work with?
We have a few specifics. We do like to work with smaller firms. So we work with solo attorneys and with small law firms, which might be 2 to 10 people in the firm. So we usually, size-wise, that's the type of firm that we're working with. And then as far as what they practice, typically it's firms that, their clients are searching for their services on the internet. So you do see a lot of divorce attorneys, family law, estate planning, probate, medical malpractice, personal injury, criminal defense. Unfortunately, you do see a lot of DUIs. That is kind of a big business for attorneys. So we do work with some of them as well. So really what our niche is, as far as from an attorney perspective, is attorneys whose clients are looking for answers online.
Okay, perfect. So,
yeah, if you're a corporate attorney, we're probably not going to work with you.
Okay, but it sounds like it makes things easier for you because if someone is searching for an estate lawyer or DUI lawyer or whatever, and then they pop up, it sounds like you have a lot more control there as opposed to having some big crazy plan. And so when you have one of these clients, I mean, what's your initial thought process? Do you plug in like a template, or do you start running ads right away, or is it a matter of kind of customizing it for each of these clients?
We do customize to a certain degree, but one of the benefits of focusing on a specific subset of attorneys is that we have experience with them already. So a lot of times we're coming to the table already having a pretty good idea of what is going to work. But our onboarding process does take our client, through a process where they're helping us discover what makes them unique. They're helping us discover, what are some of your best clients like now? Who is your real ideal client? A question I like to ask my clients is, if your phone was going to ring right now, who do you wish was on the other line? Because unfortunately, a lot of times folks, they just want to get anybody. They just want that phone to ring. So they don't really think about who to go after. So we do walk them through a process to make sure that they are really focused on their ideal client and that they're really focused on what the message is that gets their client to react, right? So that it's going to get their client to actually pick up the phone or fill out a form.
Okay, so if I'm understanding your thought process here, so you ask these people like, what's your ideal client? If the phone rang and you picked it up, who would you want to have on the other end? And then based on that, then you figure out like the messaging, the wording, things like that.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, cool. And so when you ask these law firms this question, like, is it do they give you the answer that you want, or do they usually kind of answer the wrong thing and it has to be refined? I mean, I'm kind of curious, like, what's that answer that they give to that question, and does that need to be changed by you or not?
Yeah, I would say most of the time it's not a good answer, and I wouldn't say it's the wrong answer because I'm not trying to get a specific answer out of them. I really want to just try and get at the truth of their experience. But unfortunately, a lot of times when you ask that question, well, who do you want to call? They'll say anybody. I just want the phone to ring. Or, who's your ideal client? Oh, everyone is. Anyone who's getting a divorce is my ideal client. And when you dig deeper into that, and to keep with that divorce lawyer example, most divorce lawyers, or a lot of divorce lawyers, really want to focus on individuals with a high net worth, right? So they're putting this messaging out that is just like, hey, if you're going through a divorce, call me, which is the same messaging that every other lawyer is putting out. So they're not getting the traction that they want to be getting. But if I can ask the right questions and get them to reveal to me their ideal client, and in this case, we'll say it's a high net worth individual, well, now we can tailor the messaging that's going to be on their landing pages and the messaging that's going to be in their advertising to, to really speak to that high net worth individual. And it also is going to affect where we advertise. The more we can know demographically about your ideal client, the better we can target that person.
Okay, so if someone says, all right, so my ideal client is a high net worth person, what goes through my mind initially is, isn't that kind of what everyone wants? Like, doesn't everyone want the customer that has, like, tons and tons of money?
Some people do, some people don't. So, like, to stick with that divorce attorney, we have one who her target is actually not high net worth individuals. Her target, she really focuses on conscious uncouplings. Is kind of like we're not going to be husband and wife anymore, but we'll still both be mom and dad, right? So it's not like your very aggressive divorce. It's much more of a mellow situation. And she focuses on that. So she doesn't really have any messaging about high net worth in her advertising. So it really does depend. If you're a personal injury attorney, you don't necessarily want to go after people who have a lot of money. You just want to go after people who have recently been hurt.
Perfect. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. So thanks for clearing that up. And so if someone they figure out what their ideal client is, and then based on that they figure out like the messaging on the ad, the landing pages, and stuff like that. So how do you get from point A to point B there? If you say, well, my target are these high net worth clients, how does that translate into your marketing there?
Sure. What I try to do, that's a great question. I try to get my clients to come up with what I call as an I help statement. So To stick with the lawyer example, even myself as an example, if I were to go out to a networking event, when I first started doing this, I might say something like, I own a law firm. Or, well, in my case, I own a digital agency. And, that makes me feel good. But the person I'm talking to doesn't really get a true flavor of what I actually do. So they don't really know what I do. They don't know if they need what I do. They don't know if they know anybody else who needs what I do. So attorneys are the same way, right? So they just say, I'm a lawyer, I'm a divorce lawyer. But if you can get them to come up with an I help statement, which is basically instead of leading with I own or I am, you want to lead with I help. So I help, and then for this example, it would be high net worth individuals, and you want to say I help, achieve a goal, and then with what? So, right? So I help high net worth individuals, protect their wealth and their privacy through a contentious divorce. That might become their I help statement. And then we take that I help statement and we craft the messaging for the landing page and the ads around that, right? So we want to make sure that we're mentioning on a landing page that we will help protect your privacy. That, as a high net worth individual, you may have some very specific financial situations going on that we know how to protect through a divorce. So I try to get them to come up with that I help statement and then pull the messaging from there.
Super great. And so to kind of pull out those, I guess, like the subtopics or the sub benefits of, okay, you have a high net worth and then your focus are things like protecting your privacy. How do you land on that? Do you look for like a specific amount, like 3 or 4, or do you list a bunch of things until something comes quite right? Or is it just the first thing you write down? Like, how do you come up with based on, all right, I have a high net worth individual. How do you break it up into those things that make them pay attention?
Right. So I'll ask the attorney once they land on who their ideal is. I'll ask them like, well, why is that person ideal? And then they'll start to tell me, really what they'll tell me a lot about is the problems that their person is going through. So like, oh, they really need to protect their finances. They really need to, have privacy or whatever it might be. And then I just keep asking why, and by the third or fourth why, you start to get the real answers out of them. And then if we don't get enough just from asking why over and over again, I will ask them to really lay out all of the features of their law firm. So we'll list out, how many attorneys you have, what your specialties are, how long you've been in business, all the different features of your firm. And then I challenge them to come up with what the benefit is. So if they have something like, oh, well, we've been a firm since 1983. I'm like, okay, that's great, but nobody really cares. What's the benefit to other people? Oh, well, we're really experienced and we know what we're doing. Okay, well, I can talk about experience on a landing page if that's important to your ideal client. So that's another thing that we'll do is really focus on their features and turn them into benefits.
Awesome. That's a really good reminder there of like, it's really easy to get kind of caught up in ourselves and talking about our own facts and figures that we care about a lot, no one else cares about. And then if you turn it into the benefits, what does that give me? How does it mean I can help my clients better? I mean, really kind of simple tweak there in basic copywriting, but a really important thing for us to do. So you mentioned in there that, so you make a landing page, and now I'm kind of curious about what that landing page looks like. I mean, I imagine that it's something like maybe very short or matches the ad or has some kind of phone number. So can you kind of tell us like, well, first of all, like, do you set up almost the same landing page for these law firms, and what does that landing page sort of look like?
Yeah, they're almost the same. They're not, obviously they're not exactly the same, but they are very close. And that, again, that's a benefit of working with the same types of clients over and over, where you get an idea of what works and you just build on it. But yeah, the landing page, it's going to have a hero shot up top. That's typically either going to be the actual attorney. Whenever you can have smiling faces on a landing page, that's going to be beneficial. Or sometimes it's the building. If it's a really big firm, it might be a picture of everybody at the firm. Or if you are, again, concentrating on high net worth individuals and you have like a very high end, office, you might want to show that. We'll have a headline over the hero shot and a subheadline, and then a form directly on the right-hand side of the page. And then up in the header, we always have a phone number that is trackable. So when someone comes to the landing page, the first thing they're going to see is really like the headline with the main benefit, a form that they can fill out, or a phone number they can call.
Super great. And so you mentioned in there that, so you have that phone number that's trackable. So what does that mean exactly?
Sure. So if we use a service called CallRail, where we could put code on the landing page that would be for dynamic tracking numbers. So it'll show a different phone number based on how people get to the website. And if someone were to dial that number, it goes directly through to the law firm's office. So the prospective client has no idea that the number is even tracking. But what this does is it allows us to look at, when are these phone calls coming in? How long are they lasting? What keywords got these people here? Or if it wasn't AdWords, maybe it was Facebook. What campaign was that? Which ad was it? What was the wording that was working? So being able to really dig into all of your conversions, not just the form submissions. You should certainly be doing that with form submissions because you can do that pretty easily right inside of Google Analytics. But with CallRail, you're allowed to see a lot of that stuff with your phone calls as well.
That sounds super powerful, and I have to admit I haven't used something like that where it changes the phone number, and that way you can track the time of day, what ads brought them there, what keywords there. That sounds super powerful. And then as far as, so there's the phone number on the site and the hero shop, the headline, and then there's the form. What's that form asking about?
Yeah, we want to strike a balance between how much information do we really need to get and asking the least amount of information as possible. So I mean, if it's easy enough to just ask for their first name, email address, we typically do want to also have phone number and then just a small, comments or suggestion box there, or what is your problem, and then a submit button. So we try to keep it as small as possible. But that said, different firms have different needs. So sometimes we do include a disclaimer where, there's a link to a disclaimer that they need to read and check the box before they can submit it. Lawyers are notorious about kind of making sure every, I is dotted and T is crossed. So we do have that a lot. But and some other companies may need to ask, what company are you, and what's your geographical location and things like that. But typically for a law firm, you can stay away from that and just ask the basics: what's your name, what's your number, and what's your problem.
Super cool. I like that. So don't overload them with a bunch of questions. Just ask for those three things: name, number, problem. Keep it simple and figure out the rest. And so after that form is submitted, what's the follow-up process? Does your office, or does that law firm office, do they have instructions to call them back right away? Or what happens if someone clicks on one of your ads, goes to one of these landing pages and fills out the form? What happens at that point?
Sure. And for every office, it's going to be different. But we stress with them, and we do work with a lot of our clients if they're having trouble, where they're getting leads, but they're not converting them into clients. We'll work with them to come up with some processes here. But really, I mean, what you want ideally is for, obviously, if someone dials the phone, for your office manager or for yourself to pick up the phone and have a conversation and hopefully turn that phone call into a consultation and then even potentially into a client. If someone fills out the form, we want to know from our clients, well, who do you want this notification to go to? So if somebody fills out a form, it's either going to go directly to you or it's going to go directly to your office manager. And you need to have a plan in place to respond to these as quickly as possible. And we'll help them to come up with some templated emails they can create and things like that so that they can respond to their inquiries as quickly as possible. Because particularly in the law firm space, people do search the internet a lot for lawyers, and they do often end up hiring the lawyer that they speak with first. So it is pretty imperative to get back in touch with them pretty quickly.
And so when you work with these law firms, is there any sort of best practices about getting back to them? Like you mentioned there that about email templates. So do you recommend that if that message comes in, should they email back right away or phone back right away? Or if it's after business hours, wait till the next day, or even call if it's middle of the night? What are some best practices as far as following up with those leads that come in?
Some of the best practices as far as getting back to clients is just that we want to make sure that they're getting back as quickly as they can. So I do feel like they should have an email template in place so that when a prospective client fills out the form, they are notified right away that, we've received your inquiry and we'll get back to you as fast as we can. And then on the other end, if it's during office hours, there should be someone who is in charge of calling those inquiries back right away. And then after hours, you would want to have an email template that says, we'll get back to you first thing in the morning, and then it should be somebody's job in the morning to look at any inquiries that came in overnight and to immediately respond to them. Bigger firms will often hire actually after hours answering services and make sure that their phone's being answered 24/7. But as a small law firm, you can grow into that.
All right, makes perfect sense. So send that email message out immediately or almost immediately, telling them, we got your message, and then if it's after hours, we'll call you first thing tomorrow morning, or have someone in there to call right away. And so great stuff. And so as we've been talking today, like you mentioned a few times that it's kind of important to have like some pictures and things like that. And one thing that I noticed is like when I've dealt with like a couple of lawyers over the years, like I hired a trademark lawyer once, and his website didn't have a picture of him or the other lawyer working there. And then I stayed over at like a Airbnb a couple of years ago, and he was a lawyer, and he had some kind of fancy Airstream out in front of his house, and he had this fancy website like talking about he's like some law firm that like they come to your house, and he had all these pictures of like the Airstream itself and the inside of this Airstream and all this fancy stuff, but no picture of his own face. And so having that personality, or being an attorney and having your own face on your website, like, is that important or is that not important?
I feel like it's really important. And in the tests that we've run, we've seen it affect conversions. Yeah, you really want to be as personable as you can. If you're just going to show, your office building, or not even that, a lot of law firm sites, they just show, the scales of justice and Lady Justice and things like this. It's images that we've all seen a million times. We get blind to, and plus all of your competition is doing that too. So, a great way to differentiate yourself is, yes, your own smiling face. So whenever you can, I think that you should.
All right, super great. And have you noticed like the similar thing as me? Like it just seems like everywhere I look on some of these lawyer sites, there's hardly ever their picture. So is this the kind of thing that you see like when you come to these law firms? Is this like a big missing piece, or am I just kind of alone in seeing this?
No, you're definitely not alone in seeing it. It is definitely a piece that we talk to our clients about. And one of the reasons why we like to use landing pages in our campaigns is because attorneys can be very slow to move if you talk about redesigning their website. That's a process. I don't know if you've ever designed a website with somebody, but it's a bear. So it's a lot easier to build the landing pages where you can incorporate things like the attorney's picture and run campaigns to the landing page without having to go through an entire website redesign with them. So, but yes, it's a conversation we have with almost all of our clients.
Okay, and that's a really good point that you brought up as well. There is that when you're running ads to these landing pages, they can just be new landing pages that you set up. It doesn't mean that if these law firms out there, if they already have a website or someone made a website for them in the past, you don't have to overhaul what they have. You can just set up your own web pages and send those ads, and it can work parallel to what they already have set up, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's I highly recommend doing it that way. We use another software. I mentioned CallRail earlier, but we use another one called Unbounce, and it's a landing page creation software. It's really simple and easy to use. If the website that you're putting the landing page on is a WordPress website, there's a plugin that integrates it. If it's not WordPress, it's very simple to do through a subdomain. So you're able to really build these pages very quickly on the fly, run tests in your campaigns, see which headlines are working better, see which forms are working better, buttons are working better. And we do all of that through the Unbounce landing page software. So I highly recommend checking that out.
Super great. So you use Unbounce for that. And this all sounds like a very scientific process of like just kind of narrowing down what these leads, these prospects, what they're asking for, what they're looking for, what they want to find, what will get them to fill out that form and hire an attorney. So this is all making perfect sense. And so we've kind of gone over a lot of things that these law firms need. Like they need landing pages, they need to run ads, they need to follow up with those leads as soon as they come in. They need to have like a hero shot and a headline and their picture and all these like kind of simple but important things that a lot of them miss out on. And so kind of having said all that, in all your travels of dealing with these different law firms, have you seen like a number one universal mistake that they all seem to make when it comes to their marketing?
A number one, I wouldn't say there's something that they've all done, but there's a few things that a lot of them do. One would be sending campaigns directly to their website. So a good firm might send a divorce campaign to their divorce service page on their website, but that divorce service page isn't designed to convert, and it's not set up to be able to test anything. So that's a huge mistake. Even worse, I see a lot of firms sending campaigns just to their homepage. So, I mean, getting people to convert, it is a bit of a science, and you don't want to overwhelm them with options. If you send them to your homepage, there's just way too much stuff for them to do besides call you or contact you. They could check out your blog, they could watch some videos, they could read all your service pages. There's just too much to distract them. And in today's world, if you've got that attention, you want to push it towards an action as quickly as you can. So that's one thing. And another thing that I see almost all attorneys do, it kind of goes back to that messaging that we were talking about in the beginning. I mean, attorney messaging is, it's almost always, we fight for you. We don't get paid unless you win. I mean, it's like the same 2 or 3 messages over and over and over that they all use. So when you can really come up with a message that is, unique to your firm and really brings the benefits of working with your firm to the forefront, that can pay some immediate dividends.
Perfect. Those are all both two really great pieces of advice. Stick with those pages that are simple, that are clean, that don't give them a bunch of distractions, and then have that messaging that somewhat stands out. And as I'm kind of hearing this, it seems like a lot of it is counterintuitive, because we all think that, I'll have like the most beautiful website ever, and it'll have all these different things they can click on. Like, there's no, like, they'll have all these choices in front of them, and then when you think about it, it's like, well, exactly, like they haven't seen your website before. You might have seen it because you spent all these months on it, but if they're just seeing it, if for the first couple of seconds, they're in a hurry, they don't know if you're the lawyer to talk to, and they're just kind of clicking through. I mean, you want to make that web page as simple as possible, make it a landing page, even though you might think that it might be ugly or simple or nothing else to do on the page. That's what gets the results. So if the choice is between what satisfies the ego versus what gets the result, I'd rather go with what gets the result, and that makes perfect sense to me. And so, but it's just like we need to be kind of reminded or woken up that sometimes the things that we want are counterintuitive to what those people coming into our website want. So, I mean, lots of great lessons and reminders and strategies and things like that today. And I want to make sure that everyone here listening gets to where they should be going. So I know that you have your Go Beyond SEO and your digital agency school. So if people have been listening to our conversation today, Mr. Brian, what websites would you recommend they go to right now?
Sure. Well, if they, if they were interested and if it happens to be a lawyer or another professional service firm that needs help with their marketing, the best spot to reach me would be gobeyondseo.com. But if you're somebody who has thought about starting your own agency, or somebody who has, dabbled and maybe done a little bit of freelance marketing consulting and kind of wants to take things to the next level, then I would say go to digitalagencyschool.com. I've got a free course that I offer on digitalagencyschool.com, and it gives them really some great free lessons on how to get your agency started, and focuses a lot on the mindset you need to get it off the ground. So if it's something that you've been thinking about trying for a while, I would highly recommend going over there.
Fantastic. So we have something for everybody. If you're an attorney and you want to get more leads, you want to get your marketing dialed in, the place for that is Go Beyond SEO. And then if you want to start your own digital agency, go to digitalagencyschool.com to claim that free stuff, to figure out what you need to know to create an agency of your own and help out other businesses with their marketing, with their advertising, and all that fun stuff. And so a lot of great lessons today. And if you're an attorney and you want to get those leads, or if you want to create leads for others, then this was the call for you to listen to. So maybe listen to it again, and make sure that you go right now to gobeyondseo.com and digitalagencyschool.com. Go there, bookmark it, set it as your browser's number one first time homepage. If you're driving on the freeway, pull over and write down these two URLs, gobeyondseo.com and digitalagencyschool.com, to get to what you need to get to. So thanks, Mr. Brian, for stopping by and sharing with us your mindset, your steps, and the way that you make all this stuff simple as far as advertising and lead generation and follow-up. And so thanks for making it helpful, but also simple and clear. I appreciate it, and appreciate you stopping by. So thanks for that.
All right, Robert, thank you. I appreciate you too. It was a fun conversation. Thank you very much for having me.
This is Robert Plank, and would you like to be a guest on the program? Do you have an idea for a future episode, or do you just want to tell us how we're doing? Get in touch with us right now at robertplank.com/ask to let us know.